All righty. Greetings, class. Chef Eric, everybody out there in the archive world, everybody there here with us right now. Welcome, welcome. Week 6. That's right. Halfway point.
Oh,
Shocking, but
Chef,
true.
I have to grab that thing we talked about earlier. Let me grab that.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Go for it, Chef. Week 6 class, as a reminder for anyone who has missed a week or something in the past weeks 1 through 5, please reach out to myself and Chef Eric if you have a missing assignment that needs to get submitted so that we can open it up for you. The sooner you bet, the better. We want to make sure that you're getting caught up. Like we said, we don't want to be getting anybody in the weeds. All right. Now, does anybody have any questions regarding that? If you do, please send us a message. All right. We're not going to have class time talking about this. Otherwise, everybody has been doing a great job. Keep pushing yourselves. Keep pushing, working on those knife cuts. This week, we've got that pomme boulangère. I saw some people using mandolins. I saw some people with a really thick cut on that lyonnaise. Remember, lyonnaise goes from the root to the tip, okay? Not half moons. Root to tip. This gives you beautiful lengths. Everything has a reason behind it. If you think about a knife cut, right? Well, what is it going to cook differently? Maybe the cellulose structure varies when you cut it half moon versus root to tip, right? These are things that you want to be thinking about, right? So keep pushing yourself. Knife cuts are the basis of uniformity, which allows for even cooking. All right, that's why we push this so hard. Again, if you don't know how to mince, right, and instead you're just throwing a huge piece of garlic in there, somebody's going to get a big bite. Especially this week when we're making gremolata, you're going to need to use the pasting technique. So when you use the pasting technique, I'm just giving a little hint before, because Chef Eric's got some stuff that he's going to get for the show. For the show and tell today. Oh, he's back. Hello. I was just mentioning mincing, and you're going to take this. Once you mince that garlic, you're going to add salt to it, and then you're going to use your side of your knife to actually get that down to a paste. It is hands down probably when I learned how to do that, I was like, this is amazing.
Yes.
There's
nothing better than doing it yourself.
Exactly. The flavor profile is there. And you get this really great paste, which oftentimes garlic and ginger paste used in a ton of Asian cuisine, used in Indian cuisine, Thai cuisine, used in vinaigrette so you don't get large pieces, right? Maybe you want to get a really smooth sauce and you want to finish something with garlic, okay? Again, this makes no hard big pieces, and you get all of the powerful antioxidants. Like with garlic, it takes 10 minutes approximately for all of those to release all those great beneficial properties. And breaking that down and getting that paste is really beneficial as well. So we will be going into more of these recipes in a little bit, but before we hop into that, Chef Eric has something that he's super excited to. He will be showing. I don't know. You want to show it right now? I think you're just like so excited.
I am, because I just looked at it again and I'm like, holy crap.
So this week is all about cauliflower, class, and Chef Eric wants to show you guys something.
Okay.
Right now.
So Saturday I was out shopping. All right. I went to my favorite store, Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's was out of just about everything. They had just got a truck in and they're like rushing. I mean, I've never seen this many people work at Trader Joe's at one time, but they literally had everybody there, and about 4 cashiers, 2 managers, and just people offloading the truck. And I'm sitting there waiting, and one of the most beautiful things, and I'm thinking to myself, I should grab some cauliflower, since it is cauliflower week.
There we go.
Multi-colored cauliflower bunches. So what I've got green cauliflower. I've got some orange. I got to hold it against the white background.
Yeah.
Got some purple. And I've got some white. And I know last class, same thing happened, except one of my students picked up this bag and they did 2 different purees. They did purple I want to say they did purple and green for the puree. And then for the gratin, the gratin, they did purple. The green and the orange, they did puree. And then they got a regular head of cauliflower and did the steaks. And it came out beautiful. But it was like a rainbow the way they set it up. So what they did, they took their, you're going to have your gratin. It's going to be in your little dish. You're going to have your steak. So what they did is they took the two purees, did a little swoosh, did the swoosh one way, swoosh the other way, and then put two nice cauliflower steaks, perfect caramelization on the cauliflower steak, and then put them down, kind of stacked, but they were on the, and used the puree kind of as that base. So it came out real good. And I was excited when I got this. I actually got some little pencil asparagus too, but that's a whole nother week we'll go with.
Awesome. So yes, class, cauliflower does come in more than one color, the ubiquitous white that we see everywhere. If you can get your hands on some yellow or purple or green, go for it. If not, the white is going to do a great job no matter what. But what we're really here talking about is utilization and thinking about waste, okay? How do you take a product and get the most out of it? This week, we're going to be making this steak, as Chef said, the cauliflower steak, the gratin, and a puree. So we're going to talk about the best way to approach how to break down this head of cauliflower so that you're not wasting product and you're actually getting the most bang for your buck out of it. And if you start to think about it, we're thinking about a steak. So we want that big center cut. By the time we get to a gratin, we've got florets. And by the end, we have a puree, which be those little pieces that are irregular and could be just thought of as looked at upon as waste. However, by thinking about it from a wasting perspective, and you think, okay, I've got these products, how do I get the most value out of this? Okay, that's what we're going to start looking at. So not only talking about waste, what is one of the biggest ways that we can control food waste in our kitchens, whether at home or at a restaurant?
Making a stock.
Stock, definitely.
You can
Easiest way.
make a soup.
Planning ahead.
What was that, Adam?
Planning ahead.
Planning ahead. Yep. Roger, I see you saying something too, Roger.
Utilizing your leftovers. Making a new
Utilizing
product.
leftovers. I see garnish in the chats. Making other recipes, incorporate them. Yeah.
Yep.
What else though, class? The first thing that you should be thinking about when it comes to food waste, how do you stop it? Planning and ordering is a good one, but where does the first thing start? See, numbers. Yep, that comes into thinking about your menu mix and planning ahead, projecting your numbers. Proper production is huge. We're going to take a look at this, but other thing. Cost control, yep. But one other one, class, is the first thing. Storage, first in, first out, storage.
FIFO.
Okay. FIFO, first in, first out. Storage is where it's at. If you're not properly storing, if you're not rotating, you're already wasting. It starts at the entrance. When you're checking your inventory, what's coming in, receiving, to making sure that it meets the requirements that you set forth from your purveyor. Are those bananas green, or are they already at a yellow with some brown spots on it? How long are those going to last? Is that fresh? Is that bread fresh, or is it a day old? Did you see some mold on it already? Are they trying to get some packages slipped in there?
Oh yeah, check those. And that's the one thing a lot of people don't understand. On bread, you have the little twist tie, or you have the little tab. Those different colors mean something. So that's the first thing you want to learn from your purveyor. Hey, what does orange mean? Oh, orange means that it's supposed to be delivered on Monday. Well, I got an orange one today, bro. It's Thursday. Like, what's going on? Send it back. And I think Thursday was like purple or blue. Make sure you got the right days, or the the right little band or twist for the right days.
Definitely. So there are steps along the way at very much every single point of from receiving to production, to, as we talked about in the past weeks, right? About composting, utilization, right? There are steps along the way that we're going to say wasting. But what else is another thing? And what's another reason why we keep pushing knife skills? Somebody kind of mentioned it briefly.
Because
You
so
can
you don't want
utilize
to
all
waste.
your product.
You don't want to
Uniform
waste.
and
You
not
don't want to
wasting.
waste all your product.
Wasting all your product, exactly. So I'm going to pull up, first of all, I'm going to pull up a few visuals right here, and then we're going to hop into recipes because we've got a lot of recipes and we had a lot of fun to talk about this week.
And LaPria said uniformity, basically, so that, as we always say, let everything cook at the same time. If you got a potato this big and then you got a potato that big, this one's going to be mush by the time this one gets cooked. So you want everything to be the same. Like Chef Catherine was saying about the cauliflower, when you get that, if depending on the size, and I think last class, some of the cauliflower was a little smaller.
Oh, small ones.
Yeah, they had a lot of small ones. But if you get that center cut, everything else you can use for whatever. And that's
Falls
the main
into
thing,
place.
getting that one center cut. You should only have to use one cauliflower to do this assignment. Now, if they're really small, yeah, you might have to grab another one. But what we're aiming for is one, unless you want to get creative and grab, those lovely colors. Because I'm about to do some stuff with this. I'm just letting you know.
I'm excited to see it.
I got a bechamel sauce with some cheese waiting on that cauliflower, but all right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. See, we're going to get into that too. Okay. So I'm going to pull up a few visuals, and just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. First of all, thinking beyond what we think of as a vegetable and where there is utilization. I want you to start thinking about that. Okay. So let's just pull this up first. I'm going to get into these in a second, but this is what I want to look at. Carrots come with leaves. If you are so fortunate to get those in, you got to know, are those edible? Yes, they are. What do they taste like? How can I use them? Can I fry them? Should I turn them into a pesto? Should I add them to a stock? Could I make a fumet with that?
Oh, so much you can do with that.
All right. Pesto is what I would go for. It's delicious. Or even just adding it, tossing it into a salad or a beautiful garnish.
Yeah.
Okay. Cauliflower looks like this. Ever seen, sometimes you get those leaves on there? Guess what? Those leaves are edible. Slice those up, toss them in that stir fry. Don't throw that out.
And people do. Gosh, I've seen people just snap them off. And what are you doing?
Probably one of my favorite things to add to a saute for a stir fry.
Oh yeah.
They're big, they're hearty.
Take the little rib, take the big rib down at the bottom. Just take that out. Nice little slice. Right in the stir fry.
Exactly.
Wrap it up.
Broccoli also, because these are both from the cruciferous family. Remember, these are also things when you keep diving into it, you want to start thinking about what are the names of different family types. Like alliums are garlic and onions, right? Shallots and chives. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, all right? And again, probably one of the most delightful leaves. These are even better than cauliflower leaves. Broccoli leaves are pure heaven.
Yep.
Pure heaven. I'll just leave it at that. All right.
Forget about kale. Kale is great. Don't get me wrong. And I picked up some kale the same day as this. But and it's rare that you'll find broccoli like this, but if you do find it, man, take those leaves, slice them up for quick stir fry.Maybe
you connect with the farmer and say, hey, what are you doing with all those leaves you got? Can I have some of those? Yep. I would like to put that I would like to make a really great Italian sausage, an orecchiette, but I want to use broccoli leaves instead of broccoli rabe because I don't really like the bitter notes. And I think the leaves would look really good on that.
Yep.
And fry them up too for a little extra crackle on top.
By the way, Chef.
What's that, Chef?
That's one of my favorite dishes, by the way.
Whose isn't it?
Petty, what? Yes.
I know, right? Radish, again, these leaves are edible. They're peppery. And how many times do you just take those and throw them off? Now, obviously, if they're degraded, if they're yellow and they're not in good quality, you don't want to use them anything low carb. But guess what? They are peppery, they're spicy, they add great little notes into a salad. They can be thrown into smoothies in small amounts for if you had a cafe type of shop, right? That you had salads on and you're getting your bunches of radishes in every day. Why not? Okay. There's actually a beautiful radish soup you can make as well. They blend really nicely into different types of curries as well, adding a nice green component as well, right? That fiery, peppery kind of balances out with that creamy coconut and a lot of those spicier, heavier notes from the garlic and ginger and spices and aromatics. Utilization class. This is what I'm trying to push. Okay. Thinking about outside of the box. When you buy a product, what can you do with it? Same with we talked about parsley stems, right? You throw those in the freezer, right? Until you get a batch so you're ready to throw them in your stock. Cilantro stems are actually tender enough to just go ahead and finely mince and use that in your salsas or in your base for making some bean dishes. Okay.
Yep. Totally
okay. Another thing, let's talk about this. So if we don't have trained professionals in our kitchen who know how to cut, fabricate fruits, vegetables, and meat, what's going to happen when we give them cantaloupes, melons?
They're going to waste a lot of it.
Yep.
You got it. All of this is going to get lopped off. Where's one of the things that we see all the time? Watermelon. Watermelon. What can you do with watermelon rinds? Any thoughts?
Everything.
You can plate and use them as a garnish.
You
But
can
they're actually
pickle them.
They got all the
Amber.
vitamins and nutrients are in there.
Amber's got a good one. You can pickle them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Pickling, right?
Grandmother and them used to pickle. Oh, don't even
I
get me
love a good
started.
watermelon rind pickle. I mean, it's
Especially
delicious.
when you got a nice, good sized one. Oh man. And I'm telling you, as kids, we always look at things that we're not used to. Like I said, grew up in New York. Grandparents lived in North Carolina, had a farm. We go down, you go walk through the garden, picking blackberries. Grandma get a little bit of water, rinse them off, and you eating black. Oh man, these are good. And I'm like, what is this in this jar? This don't even look right. It's square. Oh, pickle rind. And it was pickled watermelon rind. And she pulled out a piece, and I'm looking like, when you're 6, you're like, that don't look like no pickle. I know. That don't look like no pickle.
Or watermelon.
When I bit into it, you couldn't pull me off him. My grandfather was like, I think that boy gonna eat all. We gonna have to make some more. He gonna eat all of them because I was tearing them up. But that's what happens when you don't want to try something. I'll try just about anything. And I'll say just about anything. In China, scorpion. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm a Scorpio. Not eating nothing that can kill me. It's just not me. And the guy's looking at me, he's holding it. And I'm like, crickets. Crickets taste just like sunflower seeds if you've never had them. Grasshoppers, pretty much same thing.
I just had a few last night, actually. Delicious. Pineapple, here's another one where huge waste can result by not properly cutting your pineapples.
Way
All
too
right.
much.
Class, this is why we're looking at this. Everything. You're taking those skins off. Guess what? Skins impart a beautiful color and flavor to stocks. They do give it quite a deeper color, a hue to it, but sometimes that's desirable. You have to be thinking about how can I utilize that, okay? And it has flavor. Think about your yield, right? After you're cooking, you start off with a huge amount of onions, right? And you get down this, and it's like spinach too. You're thinking about what happened. So you're constantly thinking about utilization, waste, right? Every little bit counts, okay? Because you're cooking that all down. You got about, every little piece helps, okay? That's all I'm going to say. We talked about carrots, broccoli, these stalks, right? The stems also edible. Take that peeler, get that extra fiber straight out, cut those off, and again, saute it up. It's a beautiful addition. You could, if you're making a broccoli soup, right? Broccoli and cheddar, you think you're taking those stocks? That is a huge bulker that you would be a fool to just be lopping off and throwing away.
It's craziness, I'm telling you. And people, if it's not your restaurant and you see people wasting, you go talk to chef, and he's like, don't worry about it, I don't use that stuff. And it's like, I worked at a restaurant where he bought his stock. Like, are you serious right now? You got these 15-gallon pots up here that don't look like they've ever been used. All the peel, everything. And one day I just said, you know what? I'm gonna make some stock. Put some water on and everything. I told a couple of guys at the different stations, man, save everything. Threw it in and made stock. Was off 3 days. This idiot threw the stock out. I wanted to,
Yeah,
I wanted to punch him so bad.
I bet.
Threw the stock out. It's ridiculous.
Totally. So think about that. Pure waste, right? This is what we're trying to stop. This is what we're trying to educate you on. This is why you're here. So you know, hey, oh yeah, I know that also when I buy this large artichoke, and if I'm going to prepare it in a certain way, when it finally comes down, all I'm going to be left with is this little teeny heart. So what do I do with those other pieces? You make sure you don't waste it. Find a use for it. There's that watermelon rind again, right? We don't want to take a bunch of that flesh out. Okay, we want the flesh for whatever we're using it for, whether it's juice or a fruit plate or a watermelon granite. Would we want to save those rinds and think about utilization? Okay, even when it gets to peppers, say you're going to use, you want julienne and you're at fine dining, right? Of course, fine dining was a little bit more rustic or casual. You have different utilization. Those uniformity, it's a little bit off. It's okay. Fine dining, it's like, yeah, no, it's a, that's going to go into a foam instead. But you still want to be thinking about this. Say you want to have some nice, long, even pieces for your presentation, right? For your dish. But you do have to lop this off. You have to lop off that top and bottom to get a nice, even cut, right? You're going to take out that membrane right here. You're going to run that down. But then you have to think about, well, what can I do this? Oh, maybe I can dice this up and put it in and turn it into a salsa or a chow chow or anything. Maybe my shrimp and grits wants just a little bit of brunoise red pepper right on top for a hint of color to pull out that dark red, the red that's shining through on that shrimp. It's just going to make it pop more, right? By adding a little bit of extra red color on top, it's going to make that shrimp look a bit more vibrant as well. Okay. You thinking about utilization, that does not go in the garbage. All right. Pop it in next. Potatoes. We talked about peeling potatoes.
Oh, Roger gave a good one.
What's that, Chef?
Roger gave a good one. Used for omelets.
Perfect.
Even if you don't serve omelets at your restaurant, but you serve eggs, you can use it.
Do a special, maybe, start thinking, okay, we're getting all of this leftover product. What do we do? Right? Again, people peeling with knives, paring knives versus peelers. You are wasting. I don't care if your grandma or your mom showed you how to peel potatoes like that. I get it. Okay. But that's because they didn't have good peelers back in the day. Okay. And their grandma taught them that this is how you peel a potato. Well, guess what? This is a full-on waste. How much can you sell some hash browns for breakfast?
Not if you cut halfway into the potato just to take a little bit of peel off.
Okay, this is all money. So when we start thinking about food waste, not only is it disservicing the farmers and harvesters who are working hard, okay, we're just saying, oh yeah, that doesn't even matter. We're just going to throw it out, right? We're also just being wasteful when we consider how much hunger is going on around the world. We don't want to add more to landfills. Okay, we want to reduce the amount of food that we're going into landfills. All right. There's so much to talk about in regards to food waste. But first, I think what we need to do, because we do have a lot of recipes to tackle, let's start hopping into this week's recipes. All right. So you all know what to do. Can you fry them to eat? Yeah, peel potato skins. That's the number one thing you should be doing with those. You can bake them for a healthy alternative. Load them up with some cayenne and some salt, little spray to make them not too heavy.
Yep. For everybody who did French fries, and then took the peels and fried them up. Like I said, that's a whole new product. Take them, fry them up, sprinkle a little Obey seasoning on them, or slap your mama seasoning.
I think about garnishing like a beautiful potato soup or a loaded baked potato, like loaded baked potato, but then you have like crunchy potato fried skins on top of there.
Yep.
Hello.
Look, some genius made potato skins an entree. All he did was just took the potato stuff out, mix it up with a couple of different ingredients, some sour cream, throw it back in, and you've got your stuffed potato skin. It's ridiculous. All right, let's pull up these recipes.
There are a few things, like we said, we're going to talk about ways to make this a bit more approachable. Some of the recipes call for quite a number of, this one getting, we start with,
Here's
we'll
the
just
thing.
talk about this.
We have there's 5 recipes this week. Do not get into the mistake that, I only got to do the cauliflower. No, you have to make a brown butter, which is pretty easy to make. You have a gremolata. Then you have your 3 cauliflower products. So first thing we're going to go over is the brown butter. 8 ounces of unsalted butter. You melt the butter over medium heat. As the butter begins to foam, because you're going to get the foam that rises to the top, watch for browning milk solids. You're going to get that aroma. It's going to, it's going to have a nutty smell to it. All right. As soon as the butter browns, and I'm going to leave this up to you as far as the desired color, but you want it to get to brown. All right. Remove, put it in a clean, dry bowl. Store it in an airtight container. Any kind of container will work as long as it has a tight lid. Okay. It'll keep for up to a month. So it's not something that you're going to make and you can just throw away. You can use that brown butter for so much. I actually use it for fried rice, and I'm telling you what,
Ooh.
the flavor it gives to fried rice, it just adds a nuttier flavor to it. It's wonderful.
I always think about putting some brown butter in like chocolate chip cookies with a little bit of salt on there. So like brown butter, chocolate chip cookies with a hint of salt.
Or sugar cookies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. There's actually, I think there's a recipe for brown butter cookies. I'd have to ask. I got to ask a friend of mine. But I know there's a brown butter frosting. There's a lot of different things you can use.
Pasta with brown butter. I mean, scrumptious.
Matter of fact, what we were just talking about, the orecchiette. The orecchiette, those greens and a little brown butter tossed. Excellent. Let's get over to the gremolata. Gremolata is a lot easier than it sounds. Okay, so you get some lemon zest, grated. What are you going to do with the rest of that lemon? Utilization. What you going to do with the rest of that lemon after you grate? Because all you're doing is you're getting 3 tea. We're looking at teaspoons. Juice. What are you going to do with the rest of the lemon?
For another
make a lemonade, a lemonade.
There you go.
There you go. So we're going to use some parsley.
I will say, Chef, for this recipe, in my personal opinion, I think that you need to really, and this is, if you're here on watching this, please heed this advice. You're going to want to not do 3 teaspoons of parsley. That's more like 3 tablespoons or, 6 really, you want to increase this parsley. This ratio that they have is really sharp. It should be more parsley based and not as lemon heavy in this recipe.
So we move that to 3 tablespoons parsley.
I gotta get the real parsley.
Yeah, no dried parsley for this. No dried parsley for this.
You want fresh. You definitely want fresh on this. And your garlic. 1 teaspoon. Now, it says finely chopped. Honestly, like Chef Catherine said, get it up to a nice chopped, minced, add a little bit of tiny bit of salt, and get it down to a paste. The reason you want to use a tiny bit of salt is because the next thing that you're going to use, which is anchovies fillet, if you can't find anchovy fillet or fillets, as they say, use anchovy paste. But if you use anchovy paste, I would probably put the anchovy paste with the garlic and try to make that a paste, because honestly, anchovies are salty. So any salt you add, and that's why I say add just a little bit of salt to the garlic, because that anchovy is going to be salty. Okay. Now you're going to mix all these together until well combined. Taste for seasoning. And trust me, do not use, I had several people like, chef, my gremolata came out really salty. Because you're only using enough salt to get that garlic into a paste. Can you leave it chopped? Yes, you can. Can you leave it minced? You can. But you'll probably want to get it into a nice little paste. It's easier to mix. All right.
Adding that extra parsley will mellow this out. That is why I am suggesting this as well. The extra parsley really helps.
Let me stop real quick and get to the other recipes because I can't reach them from where I was. All right, so let's take these.
The gremolata also is to be served. You're going to fry up, you're going to sear these cauliflower steaks with the brown butter and serve it with the gremolata. Gremolata is often used in Italian cuisine, paired up with really simply executed products like bolo misto, which is just like a boiled potatoes and meat, and then you serve this gremolata to add this extra nice big kick and hit of flavor, because you're keeping all the vegetables and the meat really soft and just and poached. So the gremolata adds that extra flavor and depth to really round out the dish, and it complements this.
Oh yeah, Norman, what do you got? Norman, did you have a question?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what do you got?
Yes. Was that 2 teaspoons or what?
Of the anchovy?
For the yes.
The anchovy?
Norman, you're breaking up. Put your question
Yeah.
in the chat.
Yeah.
We're going to keep on going with this.
All right, so what we're looking at, this is not the order you should do it in. This is actually the second thing you should make, because the cauliflower gratin, what you basically need are florets.
Maybe
So
we should just hop into, you want to just hop into that steak first, chef? That way they get the right, then they're thinking in order.
all right, so we've got the cauliflower steak. So you got your cauliflower, okay? You've got the little side pieces. First thing you want to do, well, let's go down the ingredients. So you got a head of cauliflower, just one. You got your brown butter, salt and pepper as needed. Trim the green leaves from the cauliflower and then do what with those? Utilization, there we go. With the stalk on the cutting board. So you've got that bottom stalk at the bottom. Slice the middle of the cauliflower head into 2 1-inch thick steaks. Reserve the rest of the cauliflower for another application. Well, the other applications is we're about to come up with. You want to preheat a large skillet over moderately high heat. Make sure it's preheated. Once heated, add the brown butter to coat the bottom of the pan. You're probably going to get a little bit of smoke. That's not a problem. Lay the steaks in and sear. You're going to want that heat because you really want those to sear. Okay. You want to get a nice golden brown. So that's going to take you about anywhere between 1:45 to 2 minutes. Get a nice sear. And then you want to flip them. Okay. Lay the steaks in, sear to golden brown. As I said, flip, season with salt and pepper. Finish cooking the second side. Remove the steak from the pan and serve with whatever side you have. All right, that was the only problem. That's why I pulled up that first, because everything's blocking. On this, it was blocking my cauliflower gratin.
Oh, sorry, chef.
Oh, no, you're good. Don't worry about it.
I was, you know what, I've got a, chef, you know what, I have a quick visual of the cauliflower steak that I'm gonna pull up so that the class can see what we're
Okay.
actually looking at.
Yep. That's perfect.
For what we're expecting, right? You're gonna wanna go center. There are two different ways of approaching this, but the first way of cutting it is a lot easier. The second one is hard to keep these florets together. And we're gonna go straight down the
You have
middle
a
here.
good size one, which is perfect, because then you've got that.
The big stalk, right? And I really suggest using that stalk as your guidance, okay? You need that stalk to hold your florets in. So as you can see, this is pretty much, well, almost, they're doing a chimichurri on top, but this would, you know, and this would be a heavy amount, but the gremolata should look something similar to this. And this is actually a gorgeous, nice golden brown sear is what we're looking for as well.
Yep.
So as you can see,
Oh.
this is the alternative way, which is actually that is the straight down. There's one that I think I have where it is straight up and down. I'm trying to find this, but you can see you're going to take that head of cauliflower and go straight down the middle. This is another good visual. As you can see, that's that center stalk. Okay, and you've got those florets. So you do need to make sure that when you're cutting this, that you're keeping those branches intact, so those florets whole. Don't, if 1 inch is looking like it's gonna not be good enough, go a little bit thicker, go 1.5 inches. That's okay. You're better off erring a little bit on the larger size to make sure you get this steak to hold together. Okay, but that is what we're looking for. I think there's usually one that pops up. Yeah, this. As you can see, that's that center cut. If you think about how a cauliflower looks, that is that center piece right there, okay? The main stalk and those limbs coming off, holding those florets together, okay? So that is what we're going for. You're gonna put that in the pan and finish up, get golden brown, delicious and tasty, all right? All right, chef, back to you.
All right. Whipped unsalted butter. Melt it up, see what happens. I don't try to melt whipped butter. So I'm not really, you know,
More air is gonna be incorporated into it, right? That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it still should melt, but like I said, I'm not, you know, most of the butter, you know, I know people that use, what's that, country crock. I'm not a fan. If I get butter, I get butter. Because there's just nothing wrong. Yeah, and it shouldn't take you more than a stick or a half a stick, and you should be good. So the next thing you want to make is your cauliflower gratin, because once you cut those beautiful steaks out, guess what? As chef said, those other little pieces are just going to start falling all over your cutting board. Those are going to be your florets. And some of them, yeah, you might have to, you know, break them down into size. So you're going to have cauliflower, you're going to have lemon juice, you're going to have your bechamel or Mornay sauce. Now, here's the thing. First thing I want to say, a lot of questions from previous classes. Hey, where do I buy bechamel? No, you're in culinary school. Guess what? Everyone in here has made bechamel or Mornay. So what we're going to do is on the class page, we're going to put the recipe for bechamel. So yes, you have to make your own bechamel sauce. All right. You only need 6 ounces. Dry breadcrumbs, however you want to do it. You want to take some bread, leave it out, let it dry, break it up. If you want to throw them in the oven and turn them into, you know, really dry. Yes, you can use panko. Some people were asking, can you use panko? Yes, you can use panko. Parmesan cheese. The stuff in that little container. If you can't find anything else, use that. What I'd like to see you use, and you will thank me later. Trust me, you'll thank me later. Get it, grate it, and sprinkle it. And it looks so much better. Butter melted. Well, wait a minute. I had some brown butter. So if you have a stick or two sticks and you decide to melt one for the brown butter, or you melt half a stick for the brown butter, that other half, just melt it for your cauliflower gratin. So you're going to separate the cauliflower into florets. Like I said, it should be easier because now you cut that stem. Those the leftover pieces are going to be the pieces that you turn into florets. You're going to place the cauliflower and the lemon and lemon juice in boiling salted water. Why do we salt the water before we, or why do we salt the water when it's boiling? Before we put the cauliflower in?
To increase the heat.
Not just that, but that's one good reason.
Flavor.
For flavor too.
There we go. Flavor. So that way you don't have to worry about salting your dish later on or how much salt you're going to put in. You're putting your cauliflower in as it's boiling. It's getting, that's the same thing with pasta. If you like that, or if you cook it like that. So what you're going to do, you're going to return it to a boil. You're going to lower the heat. You're going to cover. You're going to simmer until it is just tender. If it's falling apart, it's way more than tender. Just tender. So you want to check it with fork. You can check it with a knife. Do not overcook, as the cauliflower will cook further in the sauce. All right. Butter the bottom of a baking dish, or no, I wouldn't say hotel pan because you're not making that much, but the bottom of a baking dish. Place the cauliflower in about 2 inches deep, just depending on the size of the dish that you use. Honestly, if you've got ramekins, those are probably the best. I wouldn't use a dish any bigger than, say, let's go ahead and say your head. So you want a smaller type dish, because we've seen people use pans that you would bake a cake in, you know, a nice 13 by 15. That's way too much pan for this recipe. The other thing is, make sure you drain the cauliflower really good. Make sure you drain it really good. You want to butter the bottom of the baking pan. You want to place in your cauliflower, as I said, cover it with the sauce. Just cover it with the sauce, mix together your breadcrumbs and your cheese, sprinkle evenly, drizzle your melted butter. If you, and this is up to you. It's normally how I do mine. I add my breadcrumbs, my cheese, and a little bit of butter, mix it all together, and then I sprinkle. That's what I do. But you can do it like this. There's not a problem. You want to bake it at 350 degrees, about 20 minutes, to heat it thoroughly through. Brown the top under the broiler or salamander if you have one. If you don't, hopefully the oven will take care of that for you. But you've got a broiler, that little part underneath there where most people hold their pans and don't realize that there's a good heat source under there. That's what normally happens. The last thing you are going to make, and what are you going to use for this? All the pieces you didn't use for your gratin. So those little pieces that are laying on the cutting board, all of that. You want to use that, heavy cream, chicken stock or vegetable stock. You can use water, but these two will give it a little bit more flavor. If you want to save money, go ahead and just use water. 2 ounces of butter, which is not much. Salt, pepper, lemon juice to taste. You want to combine your cauliflower, your cream, and your stock in a saucepan. Bring that to a boil. Reduce to a simmer. You basically want to simmer this until it does fall apart. So very tender. Drain, reserve the cooking liquid. I repeat, when you drain it, save the cooking liquid. You want to puree the cauliflower in a blender or food processor. Add butter and puree till smooth. Now, add a little bit of the reserved cooking liquid if necessary, if your puree is too thick. Now, one of the things you want to know about cauliflower puree, if you're looking to, I don't know, go into hospital or nursing home food service, this recipe is going to be very important to you because you have people that have swallowing difficulty and they use puree. Was a big thing when the first place I worked, first hospital, well, actually nursing home, but it was at a hospital. And they wanted me to use some kind of gel. Once you puree the stuff up, you add some gel to make it thick when you don't have to, because you can get it the same smoothness just by pureeing and adjusting it with the liquid. So,
Chef, I actually have a visual pulled up so we can also get them know exactly what a puree is, because we are not looking for a rough puree. This is a
yes,
smooth puree,
that is
everybody.
perfect. Here's the thing. Just add your salt and pepper and lemon juice to taste, and you're done. Those are the recipes. Chef Catherine, yes, please pull that up because I don't want a chunky puree. Your puree, and like I said,
Not this.
or
This is not a
nursing home.
puree. This is like mashed potatoes, rough mashed potatoes.
Exactly.
This is a
Yes.
puree.
That's it right there.
I'm salivating thinking about this right now. You want to make it look so it's smooth and spreadable on this plate. This with these seared scallops, this and some fried capers. This looks absolutely scrumptiddlyumptious, if you ask me. I could dive into that and just have that, a few servings of that for right now.
And I
Okay.
guarantee you, if you pull up that recipe for that one, or the first one that Chef Catherine showed you, there's nothing that has any kind of gelatin in it. This is all done by pureeing. Once it's pureed smooth, if it's too thick or let's say it's too thin, and you need to make it a little bit thicker, all you really have to do is put it back in the pan and stir just to evaporate some of the liquid. That's it. But you want it, the main thing about puree is it needs to be smooth. It's not about the thickness or the thinness. It just needs to be smooth. Okay, so if yours looks like mashed potatoes stacked up and you can push in and pour some gravy in, put some more liquid in. Put it back in the blender, put some more lady in. LaPria, you said this lady that was in the nursing home I worked in, ate sweet potato fries with mayo every day.
I'm okay with that. That sounds good.
Nothing wrong with that. But there was a lot of things I had to puree. Pureed meats, everything. And this gel was just nasty. It's like adding Jell-O powder to food. And on especially an older person's palate, they can taste that crap. And I used to make my cooks taste it. And they were like, oh, dear God, that's nasty. So then that's when we decided that, hey, our purees are going to be all natural. And the minute we started that, our puree people fell in love with us, fell in love with the whole crew. They were just like, oh my God, it tastes like real food. Well, because it is, sweetie, it doesn't. Kind of pissed my dietitian off because they were getting a little bit of kickback for Roger, you're my man, pre-gel. I hate that stuff. I hated it. Ugh. I hated it. It's just nasty. And when I had my cooks taste it, finally they were like, oh dear God, like this is what we're feeding the people. Anytime you work at a place like that, have your workers taste it, and then they will want to do what's right.
It's used in confectionaries as well, which is pretty. They use that as for making different like flavored gels for different pastries as well.
Which is fine for that.
Even so,
even some of that's got. Honestly, I did a puree, and they thought I was crazy. My dietitian, she never agreed with me on anything. She's like, you cannot serve people that on puree. You cannot serve them pineapple upside down cake. And I'm one of those. Like I said, I'm from New York originally, but I swear I'm from, what is that, Minnesota, the show me state. because you got to show me. And you know what? We did it. Pineapple juice. And I'm telling you, it takes a while to puree it up, but we ran it through a mesh to get the little pineapple, any little bits of pineapple. And then we just set it on it. It literally looked like pudding. And they're like, what is this? And I said, taste it there. I want you to try it. Oh, is this pineapple? Oh my God, pineapple upside down. How did you do this? And it just depends. You might have to use milk. You might have to use water. It's just different things you use, but do not use that pre-gel. And I'm so glad you said that, Roger, because God, I hated it.
Oh man, I am just going to pull up the bechamel recipe so we can just block that out really quickly. It's on the class page. It'll be up on the class page after.
Yes, Melissa.
For both of those. So it is located within, I put it on my class page right down here below below them, but it's the recipe from the book that, remember the textbook that we do have, class, remember? Uh-oh. I lost that.
Yes, pureeing can be a good dip. You can puree anything. It's not just for hospitals. You can puree anything. How many people know what cream of wheat is? Real cream of wheat. I'm not talking about that instant stuff. The stuff your mom used to cook on Saturday. If you had the real cream of wheat, you know what texture. Because real cream of wheat is smooth. All right. My grandmother used to make that. I'll tell you what, I'd be like, man, it looks crazy, but this is good. She throw a little bit of brown sugar. Oh, don't even, you know what? I'm gonna stop. Because I'm about to.
We're going into bechamel. We're going into bechamel.
Hummus is pureed. Let's go into bechamel. I'm about to have.
So class, this is the recipe from your textbook. This is the easiest one and the best one that you're going to want to use because you've got the resources for it. This does yield 1 gallon. So I believe the recipe calls for 8 ounces. So unless you're increasing your gratin recipe, or you're going to want to either decrease your, divide this recipe for bechamel sauce in half and only have about half a gallon and make something with the bechamel sauce. Or now, here's the quiz for you guys. What's the difference between Mornay sauce versus bechamel sauce? You should have known this from CU101 when we go into sauce cookery.
Cheese.
Cheese. Yep, exactly. You add cheese to your bechamel and bechamel all of a sudden becomes Mornay sauce. All right. What can you do with that? Tons of things, right? You want to make some fancy mac and cheese, anything that you really want to do by making either bechamel or Mornay, you're going to have this and you can use this. So very simple. Again, we're making a roux. You're going to take clarified butter or regular butter or oil, but ghee, anything like that. Maybe you still have some of that left over from, I think, two assignments ago. If you don't have bread flour, you can use regular all-purpose flour, no problem, okay? And boom, you start making a roux, right? Butter, add that flour. You make a white roux, not a chocolate brown roux, not a blonde roux, not a chestnut roux, which we learned about when making etouffee, but a white roux, okay? Cool that down just a little bit, just pull it off the heat, and then you start to add that milk, okay? Get a whisk. You're gonna start whipping it, all right? Otherwise, you're going to get large clumps. You don't want large clumps because those are going to be really pasty and really disgusting, right? Nobody wants a clumpy bechamel, all right? So you need to whisk. That's my suggestion, using a whisk. That's how I always make my bechamel. Other people can use a spoon. I think they're foolish. I think you want to use a whisk. You really want to get that in nice and smooth. It's the best way to incorporate it, okay? Bring that sauce.
Whisk.
What's that, chef?
I have a perfect whisk, heat proof. And the only other thing, if I use anything else, and this is just, I use this with the whisk, and that's my rubber spatula just to.
Yes, 100% rubber spatula as well.
Yep, that is it. But that
Yeah,
whisk is what's going to incorporate. Yep.
Bring that sauce to a boil, stir it, stirring constantly because milk and this will scald easily, okay? Reduce that heat to a simmer. Get those aromatics in there. Take that onion, put a clove in it, slice a bay leaf in there. Boom, you're done. If you don't have the aromatics or don't have the funds for that, okay, leave out the bay leaf, the onion, the whole clove, the nutmeg. Okay, fine. Is it going to have the same flavor profile? No, it will not. A properly executed bechamel sauce, you're just gonna want to eat up, okay, by itself. I know it sounds crazy, but those mild little flavors of the bay leaf and the whole onion and the clove and the nutmeg make a world of difference, okay? But if you don't have it, like I said, we're here to try how to streamline and reduce your costs. Eliminate those. You're gonna still have a basic bechamel sauce, all right? At that point, you're going to season, strain through a chinois to make sure it's nice and smooth and silky thin. You don't have any clumps, right? And at that point, if you wanted to make it a Mornay, is when you would add your cheese. You could make any type of cheese flavoring you want to hit up, you can do it. Remember, again, this is for a 1 gallon yield. So make a half recipe or plan to make something with this bechamel. There are photos here. This is your step-by-step guide, right? Making that white roux, adding your milk, finishing, straining, nappe consistency. All right, a few notes here. All right, and you are good to go. All right, simple, straightforward, and trust me, you're gonna love it. I see Mikael, you've got your hand up.
Real quick, Shaquana asked, is it okay to use ground clove? Shaquana, actually, you want to be able to take the clove out because you didn't, and I just put it in there. You don't want it to take over or overpower it. So you want to be able to take it out once you take the onion out, because you're going to stud the onion with the whole clove and it's going to give you the notes that you need, but then you're going to want to take it out. So, Mikael.
Good day. How you doing, Chef?
You on the road?
Oh, yes, sir. Always. Houston, Texas. Dealing with the quick question. I had to get out the truck. Is this one that Chef Catherine gets for whatever? This is one of the recipes also for this week?
Yes. Well, this is one of the bechamel, which is going to go for your gratin.
Okay.
Because there's really no way you can buy it in the store.
And if you do, it'll be like $10 for a pint, and it costs like nothing.
Yeah, to make.
Because it's just flour, butter, and milk at your most basic.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, chefs.
No problem.
You're welcome.
The wonderful thing about this bechamel or Mornay, whichever one you make, is okay. Let's say you use some, you put it on your cauliflower, you got it. Oh man, I got all this. Because maybe you didn't hear that you don't have to make a whole lot, but let's say you made a whole lot. What else can I do with my bechamel? What's the one product I can make that everybody loves? Tom, what you got?
Mac and cheese.
Blessed Tom, love you. Yes, make you some mac and cheese. And it doesn't have to be macaroni. If all you've got is orecchiette, or you've got all different little weird shapes like I've got in my cupboard, just throw some pasta into it. Get you some pancetta, get you some whatever, sausage. Get you some vegetables.
Make another gratin.
You can do that too.
Broccoli gratin. I'm telling you also, by the way, this cauliflower
Biscuits
puree.
and gravy, Shannon.
Biscuits and gravy. Yes. This puree, literally, if you have kids, I'm not even joking, it is a great way to get kids to eat vegetables. It tastes like mashed potatoes. The gratin as well. I mean, we're talking about, again, the cauliflower is hidden under a velvety coat of delicious bechamel sauce, then crunchy little breadcrumbs. Remember, we want that nice and golden brown and bubbly and gorgeous. Don't come with us with an undercooked gratin. Gratin means to actually get that color and gratiné and that color development on the top of there. You want to get remember, dairy has a lot of capabilities for Maillard reaction. That's what you like. Bubbly cheese on top of your mac and cheese, the brown spots, right? Everybody's, or your pomme dauphinoise, or gratin potatoes. Yeah, me too. That's because that milk, that dairy product has gotten to that nice heated point that it develops that brown goodness. Okay. So trust me, kids, They're gonna eat this up. I've had a lot of students in the past say the kids had no idea about that it was cauliflower puree because it just is so darn good. So
And the great thing about it is, after you brown all of that with that wonderful, like Chef just said, you got the breadcrumbs, you got the cheese on top. Once you do that, sprinkle more cheese on top. Just sprinkle more cheese. Who doesn't like cheese? Ooh, just sprinkle more cheese. Kids, please. My go-to for any kid is anything with cheese. If you do that bechamel sauce right, you could pour that over black licorice and I'll eat it. And I hate black licorice. You pour a good bechamel over that, throw some cheese on it. I'll be up there like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and eat this, even though I'm not a fan. I'm just letting you know. Cheese helps everything. So does what? What's the other product that goes with everything? Bacon.
oh, bacon. I was going with butter. I was going with butter, but bacon works too.
Bacon.
Tom, do you still have a question or is that up from earlier?
Samara, yep, you got it, Samara. That's what I'm talking about.
No, it's another comment on bechamel. You know, in the South, you know, I'm in Atlanta, but we do chicken fried steak and chicken fried chicken, and
Yes.
that's basically a bechamel. But I put bacon grease in it.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're essentially, remember when we talk about making a roux, you're talking about getting a fat, and adding bacon grease would be divine.
It's a,
Yes.
and I learned it from. I didn't know what I kind of figured it out from one of our restaurants that sell it because they forgot my gravy. I said, well, damn, I'll just have to make it myself.
There you go.
And it was exactly the same as they make it, but it does add that. And I do that with cornbread too. I'll add a little dab of bacon.
Oh yeah.
Because it does that little je ne sais quoi that just kicks it to high gear.
Definitely. Bacon fat, chicken fat.
Anybody who
manteca,
grew up
lard,
in the
pork
70s
fat.
and anybody who
What's
grew
that,
up in the 70s or early 80s always knew mama, grandmama had that little container by the side of the stove, always had bacon grease in there because she used it to
tin
fry.
can, the tin soup can.
Yes.
With a strainer on top.
There you go, to keep the little pieces out of it. But I tell you what, she fried everything. Everything in it. Yes. Somebody said you can put garlic with everything. You can.
I agree. I'm with you on that. I support that. Definitely. I do.
That was Amber. Okay.
Yeah,
Melissa
more
said-
garlic.
Melissa said she
Definitely.
would throw a little cheese in her hummus dip. I'm just saying, cheese goes with everything. Bacon goes with that. Man, you can't go wrong.
I could see some goat cheese or feta cheese if you've got that nice and smooth. That could be a nice touch to that.
Yep.
All right, class.
I've been
Well,
seeing goat cheese with cheesecake lately.
oh, awesome. Extra tang.
Oh yeah.
I like that. All right, class, perfect. Does anybody have any questions? This is there's a lot of cauliflower, but again, if you approach this the way Chef Eric and I told you, which is using that steak cut as your main gut, gratin, leftovers, puree, you're not going to be in too much of cauliflower overload. Remember, if you need to reduce quantities, reduce it appropriately and do your culinary math, divide by 2. Weigh the quantity of your leftover florets to see how much you have, and then make your, reduced recipe based on that. Okay.
I'm waiting to see how many people try that steak and then say, oh, shoot. Because we had quite a few last class. Like, I had no idea. All I've ever done is boiled cauliflower. When you do these 3 recipes, and like I said, I want to see. Do we have a second class starting this week? Is it this week?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Thank you. For the week 6 starting up. You are starting up with CE187, and this is why we are telling you to get all of your missed assignments done now, because you're going to get double time in the last 6 weeks. All right, class. You should have that in your schedule, in your dashboard. Excuse me. And put that up. I do see a few other questions. Can you make roux ahead and save it? I used to do that when I worked on a yacht. For when I didn't have time to always make roux, I would make a large batch of a blonde roux. Okay, but there are two things you must remember. When you have hot roux, you need to add cold or cooler liquid into it. When you have cold roux, that needs to go into a hot liquid for it to be able to dissolve. Okay, if you put hot liquid into a hot roux, it's not going to incorporate well. Okay, so that's how you do. But I always used to save. I would have a stack, a container of roux, blonde roux, white roux, already made. So if I needed to thicken something a la minute, and because I do not like using cornstarch as a thickener, but I needed some body in there, I would take a spoonful of my roux, cold roux from the fridge, and drop it into a hot pot of soup, and voila, or a sauce. And immediately then bring it up to a simmer, let it cook down, right? Because you still need to let that cook. Roux is not just ready to go. Roux still needs to be cooked, okay? And simmered out. But that's how you can do it. How long does it keep? You don't want to, I would make a new batch of roux every, about a week or two. You've got, it's fat and flour, so it's not going to go bad, but it also picks up flavors from the fridge. Or if it's stored, you got to store it in glass. That's why the other thing, if you store it in plastic, it's going to pick up that plastic taste.
Yep.
So it's not for all types of settings. Okay.
Amber said, okay, friend was given vegan cheese. Vegan cheese. Okay, so a friend of mine has a food truck. I was one of the big sticklers. You always got people that are going to come up and challenge you on whether you have vegan or vegetarian. Okay, so we went and bought vegan cheese. It doesn't melt the greatest. But one thing you can use it for, enchiladas, things that you would use regular cheese for, but make sure you leave the meat out. So that's what we did. We did quesadillas. I said enchiladas, didn't I? Quesadillas, and we did vegan tacos is what we used for them. Mac and cheese, you can see how it melts, but I know we didn't have it came into this weird, it wasn't even like a gloop. It was just like, like it came to life. Almost like the blob. It just kind of, had a life of its own. Goat cheese, someone asked.
I got him,
Okay.
Chef. Yep.
Nice.
Norman and LaSalle, do you guys have anything else related to this week? Because we're going to want to cut this. We can hang out for a bit minutes because we've got it. We're already at 5:15. So we want to pull the plug on this. Do you have any questions regarding 6? Yep.
You said something about a second class.
Yes. Menus class CE187. It should be listed in your, on your student portal, your dashboard.
Okay,
I don't see it on my dash yet.
That's why I've been, if you've seen my grading and Chef Catherine's, and we're harping on your menu item description, or we're saying you did a good job, but that's why, because this is what you're going to be working on. And this is actually a great class because it's going to get you ready in case, let's say you start up your own catering business. You need to know what you want to say or convey to draw people in. When you go to a restaurant, you look at the menu, you're reading the menu like, oh, that sounds good, because they've given you that little synopsis of what it is. I'd always use IHOP for for purposes, because IHOP has it, all American slam. All right, great. That's not telling me anything. That's telling me what you're calling it. But then when they put that little synopsis under the bottom, and it's like, oh, we give you 3 pancakes, this, and you're like, that's a lot of food. That's what draws you in. So with menus class, that's what you're going to end up doing with all the different products that you have, and I'm basically giving away a homework answer. Broccoli 3 ways. There's a title. But what I need is what? I need that description. So I need you to tell me what you're doing. What are you doing with my broccoli? What do you mean broccoli 3 ways? You can give me the title or the name of it, which is good, broccoli 3 ways, but I want to know what is it? How are the 3 ways? Tell me what I've got, because that's what's going to draw me in. That's what's going to say, hey, Chef Catherine, I serve this at my restaurant and you serve this at your restaurant, but there's got to be that little piece that's going to make me say, you know what, I'm going to try that. Chef Catherine, let me try your broccoli 3 ways. We have the same dish, but her description is what's going to make me say, you know what, I'm going to try hers because hers is served with blah, 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 blah. Okay. Norman, what you have?
Before I just want to hop in there. It should actually start next week, class, because week 7 would be the equivalent of week 1.
Right.
Week 6 is week 12. So sorry for the freak out. It should be there by next week. You guys are fine. And it most likely is on a Thursday.
But we got you we got you ready though.
Yeah, we wanted to get you ready.
LaPriya's like,
Thank you,
oh, good
guys.
God, thank you.
That
All
was
right,
not
Norman.
funny. That was not funny.
So
But no,
I had a
normally it
question
is.
about
It's week 6, but it starts after week
Yeah.
6 is what it is. So Norman, what you got?
I had a question about the recipes, because like, can you hear me right?
Yeah, I hear you good.
Okay, because I keep cutting out in and out, and I got basically about 55% of basically of everything which y'all said. I know it's such a low percentage, but my internet is so bad today. I don't know why. But basically, we're just gonna need 1 piece of cauliflower, like 1 head.
If
or
you can find
several.
a good sized one, and I'm gonna be honest with you, last class it was almost impossible because I mean, even when I went to the store, there was like literally some of them were baseball size. Now you're starting to get the bigger and better ones in.
You need
So
a
you
large head.
There you go. Get the big
Otherwise,
one you
2.
can find.
So
Otherwise,
if we
it'll be
get
2 to
small
3
ones,
depending
just get
upon the
2.
size. 2
Yeah,
to 3
get it.
depending upon the size.
If you get a small one, yeah, get 2.
Okay, thank you.
But try to get the biggest one you can.
Yeah, it'll make your steaks a lot easier.
Yep.
All righty, class.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Chef Eric. Thank you, class. We are ready to rock and roll. If you've got questions, reach out. The archive is going to be posted later. So if you need to review anything, there's a lot to knock out. Also, I would suggest doing this on different days, right? Make that steak, and then maybe the next day do your gratin and your puree. All right.
But
You can prep it already.
brown butter first, because you're going to need that for your steak, and then your gremolata.
Yep. And then your steak. And then the next day, do your gratin and your puree, and you're set.
There you go. Because your
All right.
gremolata is going to go over your steak. Looks beautiful. Now, you can put it on the steak, or you can make something pretty. And I know a lot of people, you guys are garnishing like crazy, and I'm loving it. I am loving everything I'm getting. And I know Chef Catherine is too, because literally we speak about that for about 10 minutes, like whenever we talk about the different plating that people are doing. So do those.
Keep it up.
Do them on different days. Keep up the plating. But I'm always, and I know Chef Catherine's doing the same thing. We're always going to give you other different ways to do it, which is great, which somebody did this week. They did like 3 different platings, which I thought was wonderful. But keep up the good work. You guys are killing it, honestly. I'm loving grading right now.
Indeed.
I really am. All right. Nobody else
Signing
has
off.
questions? We are signing off.
Thank you all. Bye.
Night,
Chef.
Chef.